All right, today we are tackling a huge question, one that gets to the very heart of what reality is. Is our consciousness just a strange byproduct of brain chemistry, a kind of happy accident? Or could it be something woven into the very fabric of the universe itself? We're going to dive into philosophy, quantum physics, and even some pretty wild personal experiences to try and figure out what it really means to be aware.
So let's jump right in. This all started with a fantastic question on Reddit that just kicked off this massive debate. And it really gets to the core of the issue. I mean, it's a fair point, right? As far as we know, for billions and billions of years, the universe was just there. Nothing was around to be conscious of it. So how on earth could consciousness be fundamental?
But then this comment drops, and it just completely flips the script. It brings up this radical idea. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, this takes it a step further. If a universe exists and nothing is there to experience it, does it even count? This is the heart of the idea that reality might just need an audience to be, real.
So this really kicks off our first major idea here. The philosophical argument that our very act of observing reality is what makes it concrete. Now, I know that sounds strange, but this concept has been around for a very long time, and it has some really surprising connections to modern science. This is basically a 21st century take on I think, therefore I am. Think about it. The only thing you can ever be absolutely 100% certain of is that you are aware right now. Everything else, the world around you, your own memories, all of it is being filtered through that awareness. So from this perspective, your consciousness isn't just some little thing in the universe. In a very real way, it is your universe.
Okay, so you might be thinking this is all just philosophy, right? Well, this is where it gets really, really weird, because this ancient philosophical idea finds a bizarre echo in the strangest corner of modern science, quantum mechanics. This is where the line between you, the observer, and the universe out there starts to get incredibly blurry. The central mystery here is something called wave function collapse. At the quantum level, a particle like an electron doesn't exist in one spot. It's more like a cloud of every possible place it could be. But here's the crazy part. The moment you measure it, the moment you look, that entire cloud of possibilities instantly collapses into one single definite point. It's almost like the universe refuses to make up its mind until you force it to.
And nothing shows this better than the famous double-slit experiment. When you just shoot particles of light at two slits without looking, they act like waves, creating this beautiful interference pattern on the other side. But, and this is the mind-blowing part, the instant you place a detector there to see which slit the light goes through, the whole game changes. They suddenly act like tiny little bullets, like particles, and the wave pattern completely vanishes. The simple act of looking at it changes how reality behaves. So, this all comes down to the million-dollar question. What in the world does observation actually mean? Does it literally take a conscious mind, like you or me, to collapse that wave function? Or is any old physical interaction enough, even just a machine recording the data? This is the exact point where hard physics smashes right into the deep philosophy of mind. Okay, let's pull back from the cosmic scale for a second and dive right into the 3 pounds of jelly inside our skulls. If consciousness is somehow the key to all this quantum weirdness, is it possible that the magic is happening right inside our own heads?
This leads us to one of the wildest, most mind-bending theories out there, OR. It's a hugely controversial idea that suggests our brains are not just some kind of wet biological computer. No, it proposes they are actual quantum computers, harnessing the bizarre laws of physics to literally generate our subjective reality.
And it gets even crazier. OR claims that these quantum computations are happening inside tiny protein structures in our neurons called microtubules. And here's the kicker. The collapse of these quantum states isn't caused by an outside observer looking in. It's caused by a physical threshold linked to the actual geometry of space-time. So in this view, every single moment of your conscious awareness is a tiny, self-organizing event in the fabric of the universe itself. It's a serious, if debatable, attempt to connect our minds directly to the cosmos. But okay, what if we're looking in the wrong place? Or at least not the whole place. The brain isn't isolated. It's in a constant, frantic conversation with the rest of our body. Could our very sense of self actually be a full-body phenomenon? Some fascinating research suggests our solid sense of self is actually a kind of useful illusion that the brain brilliantly constructs.
It's constantly listening to everything, your heartbeat, your breathing, even signals from your immune system. So that feeling of you, that stable, continuous sense of being, it might just be the brain's masterpiece, a story it tells itself as part of its unending project to keep your body alive, stable, and in balance. Okay, so if our sense of self is so intricately wired into our physical bodies, our heartbeat, our breath, what do we do with experiences where people feel like they, well, leave the body entirely? This takes us to our final and maybe most mysterious piece of the puzzle. These deeply personal accounts that seem to defy the idea that consciousness is locked up in our physical form.
Right. We're talking about out-of-body experiences, or OBEs. And what's so wild is that people who have them don't describe them like a dream. They say they feel completely awake, totally lucid, and that the experience of their awareness literally floating free from their body feels just as real, if not more real, than everyday life. And look at this. A study on these experiences shows just how profound they can be, but also how differently people interpret them. You have one person who comes away absolutely convinced that we transform after death. Then you've got another guy who has the same kind of experience and says, nope, still don't believe in anything spiritual. And for a third, it was a wake-up call that made them realize their daily worries were insignificant. The experience is powerful, but the meaning we take from it is intensely personal. And yeah, it's not always this blissful, eye-opening thing. For some people, it's absolutely terrifying. Just listen to this person's account. They describe this feeling of being on the brink as if they were about to be cut off from the material world forever. It just shows how deeply these experiences can shake our most fundamental ideas about who we are and what reality is. So, wow, we've gone from Reddit arguments to quantum physics, from inside our neurons to experiences outside the body. After all that, where does it leave us? Well, we don't have a neat and tidy answer, but we have uncovered this deep, fascinating conflict right at the heart of how we understand reality. It really boils down to two completely different ways of looking at everything. On one side, you have materialism. That's the idea that the physical universe, matter, energy, physics, is the bottom line. It was all here first, and consciousness is just a complicated and maybe accidental thing that eventually emerged. But on the other side, you have this radical idea, call it idealism or panpsychism, that says, nope, consciousness is fundamental. It was here first, and the physical universe is what emerges from it. And that's really the question we're left with, isn't it? Is our awareness, everything we feel and think, just a lucky, random accident in an otherwise mindless cosmos? Or are we the way the universe gets to wake up and experience itself? We don't have the final answer, but pondering that question, well, that could change absolutely everything.